I'm sorry, Adora. Your husband has a severe fertility condition. He cannot produce healthy sperm.
Trying? You call this trying? My son needs children, not excuses. Maybe you are the problem.
No, Mama, I don't think so.
5 years, Adaora. 5 years and nothing. What kind of wife are you?
Trying.
Or wasting my son's life?
Yes, Mama.
Welcome to another news story. Now, what would you do if the husband you loved, respected, covered all his shame, turns out to mock you because you tried to take his blame on his behalf? Well, this is the story of Adaora and Ebube. Rain was falling heavily that evening. People were running into shops to hide from the storm. Inside a small restaurant near the bushy road, a young woman sat alone by the window. Her eyes looked tired, but there was a quiet strength in her face. Her name was Adaora. She stared outside at the rain and whispered softly to herself, "Sometimes life changes the day you meet one person." She did not know that in a few minutes, the man who would change her life forever was about to walk through that door. 5 years earlier, the city was busy and full of life. Cars were honking, street traders were shouting, the smell of roasted corn filled the air. Adaora was washing down the road, holding file tightly against her chest. She had an interview in a big company that morning, and she was already late. "God, please, not today," she whispered nervously. As she hurried across the road, she accidentally bumped into someone. The impact made her drop all the papers in her file. "Ah, I'm sorry," she said quickly, bending down to gather the scattered papers. The man she bumped into also bent down to help her. Their hands touched as they both picked up the same papers. They paused. For a moment, their eyes met. The man smiled gently. "Looks like the wind is trying to steal your document," he said jokingly. Adaora laughed nervously. "Or maybe today just doesn't want me to succeed." He handed her the remaining papers. "Well, I don't think that's true." She looked at him properly now. He was tall, well dressed, and had calm, kind eyes. "My name is Ebube," he said. "Adaora," she replied softly. Ebube looked at the file in her hands. "Interview?" "Yes," she said, "and I am already late." Ebube checked his watch. "You still have 10 minutes. The company building is just 2 streets away." Adora's eyes widened. "Really?" "Yes, come, I'll show you the shortcut." They began to walk quickly together. That was the first time their path crossed. Neither of them knew that moment would become the beginning of something beautiful. After the interview, 2 hours later, Adaora walked out of the company building with a bright smile. The interview went well, very well. As she stepped outside the gate, she suddenly heard a familiar voice. "So, did the wind allow you to succeed?" She turned round. Ebube was standing there. Adaora laughed in surprise. "You are still here?" "I had a meeting nearby," he said, "but I thought I would check if the girl whose papers almost flew away survived her interview." Adaora smiled. "I think I did." Ebube pointed to a nearby cafe. "Then I think that deserves a small celebration." She hesitated for a moment, then she nodded. "Okay." That simple coffee meeting turned into 2-hour conversation. They talked about everything: childhood memories, families, dreams, life struggles. Adaora discovered that Ebube worked in an engineering company. Ebube discovered that Adaora had lost her father years earlier and had been helping her mother raise her younger siblings. He admired her strength. Before they left, Ebube asked softly, "Can I see you again?" Adaora smiled. Yes, that was how everything began. Love begins to grow. Weeks turned into months. Ebube and Adaora became inseparable. They went to the cinema together, they visited parks, they shared late night phone calls that lasted for hours. Sometimes they would sit quietly under the evening skies, just talking about the future. One evening, as they walked beside a quiet lake, Ebube suddenly stopped walking. Adaora turned. "What is it?" Ebube took her hands gently. "Adaora, before I met you, my life was just work, work, work." He looked into her eyes. "But you changed everything." Adora's heart began to beat faster. "I have never met someone with a heart like yours," he continued. "You were strong, kind, and you make me want to be a better man." Adora smiled childly. "Are you trying to flatter me?" Ebube shook his head. "No." Then he slowly knelt down on one knee. Adora's hand flew to her mouth in shock. "Adora," he said softly, "will you marry
Will
me?"
you marry me?
Tears
Yes.
filled
Oh,
her eyes.
I love you.
Immediately.
I love you.
Yes. Family. When Ebube introduced Adora to his family, his mother looked at her carefully. She was a proud woman who valued traditions. "Where is she from?" she asked. "Anambra State," Ebube replied. Her mother nodded slowly. She asked many questions about Adora's family, her background, her education. After a long conversation, the older woman finally smiled. "She seems like a good woman," she said. Adora felt relieved, washed over her. Her own mother also welcomed the baby warmly. "My daughter had suffered a lot in life," her mother told him seriously. "If you marry her, promise you will protect her heart." Ebube held Adora's hand firmly. "I promise." Their wedding day came on a bright Saturday morning. The church was full. Friends, families, neighbors, everyone came to celebrate their love. Adora walked down the aisle in a beautiful white dress. Ebube could not stop smiling as he watched her walk towards him. When the pastor said, "You may kiss the bride," the entire church burst into cheers. Outside, music played loudly. People danced. Food were everywhere. The joy was overflowing. During the celebration, Ebube pulled Adora close and whispered softly in her ear, "Today is the beginning of our forever." Adora rested her head on his shoulder. "Yes," she said softly, "our forever." They had no idea that life was about to test that promise in ways they never imagined. But on that day, they were simply two people deeply in love, and they believed nothing could ever break them. The first year of the Adora and Ebube's marriage was filled with joy. Their small apartment was always full of laughter. Every evening, when Ebube returned from work, Adora would run to the door with a bright smile. "You are back," she would say happily. Ebube would drop his bag and hug her tightly. "Of course I'm back. My home is here." Sometimes they cooked together in the kitchen. Other times they sat on the couch watching movies and teaching each other. Their neighbors often said, "Those two look like people who just fell in love yesterday." But there was one thing they both dreamed about the most: a baby. After their wedding, everything expected good news very soon. In their culture, when a couple gets married, people begin asking questions quickly. "Any good news yet? Are we hearing baby cry soon?" At first, Adora and Ebube only laughed. "It will come," Adora will say happily. Ebube would smile and reply, "By this time next year, we might even have twins." They were full of hope. Every month, Adora would secretly feel excited. Maybe this month will be the one. Maybe this month God will bless them with a child. But every month ended the same way. Silence, no pregnancy. Still Adora kept smiling. "It will happen," she told herself. By the second year of marriage, people began to talk more. One afternoon, Adaora visited Ebube's mother. His mother was sitting outside with some women from the neighborhood. When Adaora greeted them respectfully, one of the women smiled and asked, "My daughter, when are we coming to dance for your baby?" The women laughed. Adaora forced a smile. Very soon, by God's grace. But as she walked home lately that night, her heart felt heavy. When she reached the house, Ebube noticed the sadness on her face. "What happened?" he asked. Adaora sat beside him. "Ebube, do you think something might be wrong?" He frowned. "What do you mean?" Adaora spoke softly. "We have been married for 2 years now, and there is still no child." Ebube quickly shook his head. "Don't say that." He held her hands. "Children come at the right time. Don't let people put pressure on you." Adaora nodded, but the worry had already entered her heart. By the third year, the questions became louder. Family gatherings were no longer comfortable for Adaora. Relatives would whisper when she passed, 3 years and no child. That is not a good sign. One evening, Adaora gathered courage to talk to Ebube again. They were sitting at the dining table. "Ebube," she said gently. "Yes, maybe we should go to the hospital and check." Ebube looked up. "Check what?" "Our fertility," Adaora said carefully, "so we can know if everything is okay." Ebube leaned back in his chair. "Adaora, you are worried too much." "But Ebube," he raised his hands gently. "I'm very busy at work right now." He smiled, trying to lighten the mood. "When things slow down, we will go." Adaora nodded quietly, but deep inside her, she was not satisfied. The fourth year of the marriage was no longer as joyful as before. The laughter in the house became less frequent. Adaora sometimes cried quietly at night when Ebube was asleep. She wanted to be a mother so badly. Sometimes she would watch mothers carrying babies on the streets. Her chest would tighten with pain. One evening, she tried again. "Ebube, please, let's go to the hospital for checkup." Ebube sighed deeply. "Adaora, I told you work is stressful right now, but this is important, and I said we will go later." Adaora became quiet again. She did not want to argue, but the silence between them began to grow. By the fifth year, the pressure became unbearable. Relatives have started saying terrible things. Some people even suggested that Ebube should marry another woman. One afternoon, Adaora overheard two women whispering outside their gate. "Maybe the woman is barren." Poor Ebube. The words cut her heart like knife. That evening, when Ebube came home, Adaora spoke again. Her voice was trembling. "Ebube, please." He looked at her. "What is it now?" Tears filled her eyes. "Let us go to the hospital together." Ebube looked at her face for a long moment. For the first time, he saw how deeply the situation was hurting her. He sighed. "All right." Adora's eyes widened. "Really?" "Yes," he said slowly. "We will go to the hospital." For the first time in many months, Adaora felt a small sense of relief. Maybe now they would finally know the truth. Maybe the doctors would help them. Maybe their dream of becoming parents will still come true. But neither of them knew that the hospital visit would soon reveal a secret powerful enough to shake their entire marriage. A week after that conversation, Adaora and Ebube finally went to the hospital. Adaora woke up very early that morning. She ironed the baby's clothes and prepared breakfast quietly. Her heart was beating fast. Today they would finally know the truth. When Ebube came out of the bathroom, she forced a small smile. "Are you ready?" Ebube nodded slowly. "Yes, let's go." During the drive to the hospital, the car was silent. Neither of them spoke much. Both of them were lost in their own thoughts. The medical tests. The hospital was busy. Parents filled the waiting room. After registering, the nurse called their names. "Mr. and Mrs. Ebube." They followed her into the doctor's office. The doctor spoke calmly. "Fertility challenges are very common in marriages. he explained. But the important thing is to run tests for both the husband and the wife. Adaora nodded. That was exactly what she had been hoping for. Different tests were carried out: blood tests, scans, medical examinations. The process took almost the whole day. Finally, the doctor said, "Your results will be ready in 3 days." Those 3 days felt very long for Adaora. Her mind was filled with many thoughts. What if the problem was from me? What if she would never be able to give Ebube a child? But she also reminded herself that whatever the result was, they would face it together. They were husband and wife. They loved each other. Nothing could break them, or so she believed. Ebube refuses to. 3 days later, Adaora reminded Ebube, "Our results are ready today." Ebube looked uncomfortable. "I have an important meeting today," he said quickly. Adaora frowned slightly. "But it won't take long." "I know," Ebube replied, picking up his car keys. "But I really cannot go today." Adaora looked disappointed. "Then we can go tomorrow." Ebube avoided her eyes. "Just go and collect it." Adaora was surprised. "You don't want to be there when we hear the results?" Ebube shrugged. "It's just a result. Bring it home, we'll look at it together." Adaora felt something strange in her chest, but she said nothing. "Okay," she replied softly. Later that evening, Adaora went to the hospital alone. Her hands felt cold as she sat in the waiting room. When the nurses finally called her name, her heart started beating very fast. She enters the doctor's office slowly. The doctor looked at the file in front of him. "Mrs. Adaora," he said gently. "Yes, doctor." "Where is your husband?" "He is at work," Adaora replied. The doctor nodded, then looked at the results again. His face suddenly became serious. Adaora felt fear creeping into her chest. "Doctor, is something wrong?" The doctor hesitated. Then he spoke carefully. "Your test results are perfectly normal." Adaora blinked. "Normal?" "Yes," he said. "There is nothing wrong with your fertility." For a moment, Adaora felt a relief. But then she remembered something. "What about my husband's results?" The doctor opened another page in the file. His expression became even more serious. He said quietly, "Mrs. Adaora." "Yes?" "Your husband has a severe fertility condition." Adaora felt confused. "What does that mean?" The doctor spoke gently. "It means your husband cannot produce healthy sperm." Adaora stared at him. Her mind could not process the words. "Are you saying—" The doctor finished the sentence softly. "Your husband is infertile." The room suddenly felt quiet. Adaora could hear the sound of her own heartbeat. Her husband? Infertile? The doctor continued explaining the medical details, but Adaora barely heard anything. Her mind was spinning. All these years of waiting, all the questions from family, all the pressure, all the silent pain, and now this. The truth was shocking. When Adaora finally left the hospital, the sun was already setting. She sat in her car for a long time without starting the engine. She looked down at the envelope containing test results. Her hands trembled slightly. If the truth came out, it would destroy Ebube. In their culture, people often blamed women when couples could not have children. But if people discovered that the man was the one with the problem, the shame would be unbearable. People would laugh. They would mock him. They would say terrible things. Adaora closed her eyes. Ebube was her husband, the man she loved, the man she promised to stand beside forever. Slowly, tears rolled down her cheeks. She made a decision, a painful one. She would keep the truth secret. She would carry the blame herself. She would protect her husband from the shame of the society, even if it meant suffering alone. That night, Adaora returned home. Ebube was sitting in the living room watching television. He looked up casually. "So what did the doctor say?" Adaora forced a small smile. She placed the envelope on the table. "Nothing serious," she said quietly. Ebube relaxed immediately. "See, I told you there was no need to worry. Adora nodded. Yes, you were right. But deep down inside her heart, she knew something had changed forever. From that day on, Adora began carrying a heavy secret, a secret that would soon turn her life into a painful storm. An unexpected visit happened. 2 weeks after the hospital results, life in the house slowly returned to normal. At least that was what we believed. But for Adora, nothing felt normal anymore. Every time she looked at her husband, she remembered the secret she was carrying for him. Sometimes she wondered if she should tell him the truth, but each time she imagined the shame he would face, she kept quiet. One afternoon, Adora was sweeping the living room. She suddenly heard a car stopped outside their gate. A few minutes later, the door opened. Ebube walked in. Behind him was his mother, carrying a large bag. Adora was surprised. Mama, you didn't tell us you were coming. Ebube's mother smiled faintly. I decided to come and stay for some time. Adora quickly helped her carry the bag inside. You are welcome, Mama. But Adora had no idea that the visit would turn her life into a daily nightmare. At first, everything seemed peaceful. Ebube's mother settled into the house and watched everything carefully. But it didn't take long before the questions started. One evening, during dinner, she suddenly asked, Adora, how many years have you been married now? Adora swallowed nervously. 5 years, Mama. The older woman shook her head slowly. 5 years, and this house is still quiet. Adora forced a smile. By God's grace, it will happen. Ebube said nothing. He simply continued eating. As days passed, Ebube's mother began making small comments. At first, they sounded harmless, but slowly, the words became sharper. One morning, she said loudly while talking on the phone, some women enter a house and close the door of childbirth completely. Adora heard the words clearly from the kitchen. Her heart tightened with pain. Another day, while watching a neighbor's baby playing outside, the older woman sighed loudly. Some homes are blessed with children, others are cursed with silence. Adora quietly walked away before tears could fall. Soon, the comments turned into direct insult. One afternoon, Ebube's mother called Adora in the living room. My daughter, she said coldly. Yes, Mama. Have you gone to the hospital to check what is wrong with you? Adora's throat became dried. Yes, Mama. And what did they say? Adora hesitated. They said we should keep trying. The older woman frowned. Keep trying for 5 years? Her voice rose. My son needs children. Adora lowered her head. Yes, Mama. Ebube was sitting nearby. He said nothing. That silence hurt Adora more than the insults. As weeks passed, something slowly began to change in Ebube. The pressure from his mother started affecting him. One evening, after hearing his mother complain again, he turned to Adora. Adora, maybe you should go for another medical test. Adora looked at him in shock. But Ebube, we already did tests. Well, maybe something was missed, he said impatiently. Adora stared at him quietly. She wanted to scream. She wanted to bring out the hospital results and show him the truth, but she
I
remained
can't keep
silent.
pretending.
What's wrong?
The
It hurts
results
too
became
much.
worse every
I'm
day.
here.
One afternoon, Ebube's mother spoke harshly during lunch. I don't understand why my son is still keeping you in this house. Adora froze. If you cannot give him children, the older woman continued, then maybe he should marry another woman. The spoon fell from Adora's hands. The sound echoed in the quiet room. Ebube looked uncomfortable, but he still said nothing. Tears slowly filled Adora's eyes. 5 years of
5
love,
years. 5 years of
5 years of
loving him.
sacrifice,
5 years
5
of
years of
protecting
protecting
him.
a secret.
And this is what I
And
get?
yet, she was being treated like a failure. That night, Adora cried silently in the bedroom. For the first time, she began asking herself a painful question. Is this marriage worth the suffering? Her heart was breaking, and the secret she was protecting was becoming heavier every day. The next morning, tension filled the house. Ebube's mother began another argument about children. This time, her words were even harsher. Adaora felt something inside her snap. Her hands trembled. Her chest rose and fell quickly. For 5 years, she had carried a secret to protect the man she loved, but now she was reaching her limit. And very soon, the truth would come out, a truth that would shock everyone in the house. It was another tense afternoon. Ebube's mother had been complaining all morning, and Adaora could no longer bear the humiliations. Her hands shook as she finally stood up. Mama, Ebube, I cannot stay silent any longer, she said firmly. She placed the hospital results on the table. Look at this, Ebube. The truth is, you are the one who is infertile. There is nothing wrong with me. All these years, I carried this burden to protect you. The room fell into shock silence. Ebube stared at the papers, his face pale. You mean all these years I blamed you? He whispered, his voice breaking. Yes, Adaora said quietly, and I've also tolerated your lack of care, your silence, your excuses, while protecting you from the world's judgment. I can't do it anymore. Ebube's mother gasped. Ebube looked at her with guilt and shame. I didn't know, he murmured. Adaora shook her head. Tears ran down her cheeks. I told you before, Ebube, you don't treat me well. You ignore me, insult me, and let your family humiliate me. I protected you out of love, but I can't stay in a marriage that drains my life and dignity. She took a deep breath. I am leaving. I will no longer be blamed for what is not my fault. Adaora filed for divorce, and the process was quick. With her strength, intelligence, and determination, she poured herself into her career. She built a successful business, a company that helped many women start their own ventures. She became independent, respected, and happy, finally free from the pains of her past marriage. Years later, at a business conference, Adaora met Obinna, a kind and loving man. He admired her courage, her vision, and her heart. They became friends first, then fell deeply in love. This time, Adaora was careful. She knew her worth. She knew she deserved respect, love, and partnership. Eventually, Obinna proposed. Adaora smiled through happy tears. Yes, she said, her heart full. This marriage was different. She was loved, cherished, and treated with respect she had always deserved. Adaora stood on the balcony of her new home, looking at the sunset. Her journey had been painful, filled with betrayal, humiliation, and heartbreak, but now she is strong, independent, and truly happy. She whispered to herself softly, sometimes, when everything falls apart, it's only making room for something better. And for Adaora, life had fully begun. Adaora exposed the truth. She left Ebube because she didn't treat her well. She built a career and a thriving business. She found a loving, respectable man who became her husband. The story ends with empowerment, independence, and happiness. And if you are in Amara's shoes, what would you have done? Would you have gone for divorce, or would you forgive your husband and start living? Leave a comment in the comment section. I love you all. This is Somi Storytime with Somi. Kindly like, subscribe, share this amazing story so that people can learn and be educated to always go for the necessary test before marriage. Make sure you go for the necessary test before marriage. That was the mistake Amara and Ebube made because they were in love. I love you all. Bye. Till I see you in the next story.